Hello everyone, welcome to another painting video. This one is gonna be inspired specifically by trees, and I called it REUNITED. I had a few other titles in my head, but I sticked with REUNITED now. I wanted to give it this very wholesome, poetic title in the beginning, but I sticked with just one word, REUNITED. And here you can see the reference photo on screen. Actually, I didn't take a photo, I just took a photo now for you to show you what the actual subject looked like, or the reference tree. You know, it was this little tree stem cut, and we found it in the forest, my wife and I, and we just looked at it. We found a few of those actually, surrounded by some fallen trees, which was sad and at the same time beautiful, because they had this wonderfully interwoven look to it. So like all of them, they had these lianas and other branches literally hugging the tree stem, and we saw that. We saw those little cut up trees because there was a storm a few months ago, and it was in Helenental, in the river of Helena, which is close by where we live. And there's a beautiful river, a stream, and next to it there's a lot of nature, a lot of trees, bushes, and just a forest basically. And a lot of people like to walk there, and you can also go a little bit hiking if you want to go up a mountain. It's not really a mountain, it's more a hilltop, you could say. But anyway, we walked there and we saw these little cut down tree stems, and we turned to each other and we had the same thought, like we have to take one, right? They're actually pretty heavy. They don't look that heavy, but they were actually pretty heavy to carry. And we walked through the forest and then back to the car, and we put them in the back of the car. And immediately, the first thought that came to me after picking it up, I was like, I have to paint this. I have to paint this. There's no way I can ignore the beauty and the poetry and the just life-affirming energy of this beautiful motif. And yeah, it looks so wholesome to me because there's a whole world and a whole story contained within this just small subject, right? And also I chose a very small canvas. So it's about, I think, I'm not exactly sure about the size, but I think 20 by 24 centimeters. I don't know in inches exactly, but a very small canvas, and it's basically a plywood, right? So about 4 or 5 millimeters, maybe 6 millimeters thick, 20 by 24 centimeters in height and width. And I covered it with 3 layers of gesso, which is basically an acrylic foundation. So before going in with the oil colors and with the oil paint, I wanted to apply some gesso, and then I scraped it off, smoothed it out with some scrapping paper, or actually these scrapping stones, which is this scrapping paper wrapped around a rectangular shape, and to smooth it out a bit. The lamps that I'm using, they have this very warm tint, right? Very warm orangey hue, because I feel it's more cozy. I don't want this white bright light. I can't work with that. My eyes start hurting and I get really tired and get a headache, and not possible. I had that in university and in school for many years. I would walk into the classroom and I would just get a headache within the first 5 minutes or 10 minutes of the lesson, because these ceiling lights, they had this very slow frequential flickering, and even if it's not noticeable maybe to the naked eye, it's very subconsciously you can feel it. It's very uncomfortable to me. And orange light, way more way more cozy, I feel. So here I'm gonna paint in real time, or I didn't speed up the video, that would be a better way to phrase it. So before you saw me to make this underdrawing, so I started with pencil, which I usually don't do on canvases, but with this, because it's wood and then covered with this gesso, it has a very different texture than a normal linen canvas or a canvas board with linen wrapped around, right? It has a very different texture, very different feel to it. It's more smooth, and it just felt right to use a normal pencil and start sketching it out. And yeah, the reference that you saw in the beginning, this is not the final one. I took a little break, went out for a little walk. I just wanted to show you this really beautiful landscape. All filled with ice, like an icing on top of a cake. And this is in our park, in the park nearby. No, not our park. that would be crazy. But in the park nearby where my wife and I live currently, where we currently reside. And yeah, look at that. I mean, nature is so wonderful, absolutely wonderful. And that's also what I wanted to talk a little bit about you today in this video, is to cherish nature more through creating art, basically. So not only by taking a walk and by being in nature, which is wonderful, it's absolutely quintessential for the soul, I think, but also by cherishing it through creating life-affirming art, by creating something that captures the essence and the beauty of nature. But I'm constantly getting distracted by this beautiful view. So back inside, you know, this looks like it's just made in one day, but to be honest, I painted this, I think, over the course of 3 or 4 days. So even though it's a small painting and I could have done the whole thing in one sitting within a few hours with the wet on wet technique, just a la prima, right? You start with the background, and then on top you put on more and more colors with more and more oil. So it's very oily, obviously, but that could be done also. That would also be an option.